Sir, please begin. We are live.
Okay, so very good morning to one and all present here. Respected speaker of the day, Professor Kirtiraj Dadarao, Social Science Center at the Vidyapeeth University, Pune. Dr. Deepak Makwana, coordinator of the webinar, as chief faculty members, and we are students. So it's really a matter of pride and privilege for me to welcome you all in this vertical webinar on the very relevant theme for professional social worker, that is social work practice in India, need for a paradigm shift from conventional social work to critical and radical social work. So I must congratulate the coordinator for selecting a very eminent speakers from the field regarding this particular topic. So Kirtiraj sir, we welcome you on the virtual platform of Parul University, Vadodara. And I personally believe that social work now is changing its position and developing from the state of semi-professional to fully professional, fully mature professional. And after COVID also so many changes are observed by the professional in the field of social work. So I hope your discussion will give you new direction in the field and will be able to understand what kind of paradigm shifts are required and in which particular direction the social work profession is moving ahead. With this note, once again, I welcome you all. I welcome you, sir, and thank you very much for sharing your valuable time in spite of your busy schedule. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Parul University, for giving me this opportunity to present the ideas which I believe are very necessary and relevant as far as today's scenario is concerned. So this was planned to be an 1 hour presentations, and I will try to make it as precise as possible because this is a very vast subject and needs to be addressed at length. So the outline of the paper will be like this. I will start with my own experience. This was almost 20 years back when I had just joined as a social work educator here in Pune. And as a part of our concurrent fieldwork practice, we were supposed to visit our fieldwork students in a community setting. And most of the times we place our students in slum areas, in the communities. It is very heterogeneous and cosmopolitan. Now the students to whom I had placed in a community, I got a call from that agency. The call was, they were asking me, can you engage our field level social workers on the thoughts of Jyotirao Phule and Dr. Ambedkar. Now these was a very surprising for me. And I asked them as to why you think that your field level social workers needs to be reoriented towards certain things. And then they said that when our field level social workers goes to the slum areas, goes to the community, people in the slum areas ask different questions to them with regards to these social reformers, particularly Mahatma Phule and Dr. Ambedkar. And our field level social workers are not equipped to handle these questions. So, as a part of capacity building, they had invited me to conduct few lectures on the life and missions of Jyotirao Phule, Dr. Ambedkar, and some other Indian reformers. Now that reminded me of the problems in social work practice in our country. And it also reminded me what Dr. Clifford had warned to the Indian social work educators. You might be knowing that a professional social work, a trained social work, was brought to India by an American missionary called Dr. Clifford. And he was also the man behind establishing the first social work schools in India, that is Sir Dorabji Tata School of Social Work, Mumbai in 1936. And he brought all the literature from America to start this particular course in India. At that time, he had warned that we cannot copy all the literatures, methods, and theories which are born in the West, and these theories will be of little help in understanding Indian social realities. Because he said the cultural, economic, and social conditions in India are quite different from the West. And therefore, effort should be made to adopt this material to Indian conditions and interpret them in the light of India's national social heritage. So this was what Dr. Clifford had warned way back in 1936 when social work in India was in its infancy. Then in 2009, there was an independent study by young social work educators, and this independent study has highlighted some of its findings. They brought some of the important findings. These findings says social work education in India has become irrelevant to the needs of Indian society because what is needed in Indian society is primarily a preventive and macro-based social work. Indian social work educators must accept this challenge and transform the existing social work education. Unless this is done, social work education is not likely to establish its roots in the Indian society. So this particular study, which was cited by Ranjana Devi in 2009 also underlined the facts that we needs to transform the existing social work
ये देखो कितने सारे दीपक
theory and social work practices so as to suit to our conditions. I will also draw your attentions to the role of United Nations. The United Nations also brought few surveys. These surveys, especially survey third and fourth, highlighted the limited applications of American model of social work education and points out the need for promoting the indigenous methods, curricula, and study materials. Now, let us try to understand what this conventional social work is all about that we are practicing in our country. This conventional social work is basically tries to enable people to cope with their problems by enhancing their own capacities and their own resources. That means it is all about service based or charity kind of thing. They wanted to help the people without questioning their situation, without questioning their cause of their situations. Means they plan change without an agent of social change. Now, please move my PPT to models of social work, popular models of social work in India. Next, next, next. Okay, okay. Now let us try to understand what are these popular models of social work in India and abroad also that we are practicing since so many years. The first, we started with a remedial model of social work practice. Means disease medicine model. It is also called disease medicine model, remedial models of social work practice. Then we shifted to developmental model of social work practice. Then later on, we have combined these two together. We combine a remedial model of social work practice with developmental model of social work practice. In our country, social work is generally used to include any activity which is intended to help restore or promote some aspects of social and economic well-being of individuals and groups of underprivileged and dependent persons. These are the popular models. We are practicing these models. The system model also, developmental model, a remedial model. All these models we have practiced for many years. But in 1970s, the decade of 1970s, there was a major shift among the Western academicians, and they started talking about the contradictions between the welfare state and social work, because all these models are basically leads us to the welfare state. Now, the Marxist critics or the leftist critics of these models were, how can welfare state and social work go together? Because state itself is oppressive. State itself oppresses the people, and if state itself is oppressive, how can you expect state to bring about change in the system, to bring about change in the lives of people? So these Marxist critics then gave birth to critical social work practice. So these Marxists, they criticize the welfare state, ideas of welfare state, and they said welfare state is basically the state of capitalistic people. This welfare state is basically governed by capitalistic people, and therefore these capitalistic will not. Please mute everybody from your side. Deepak sir, please mute everybody. Somebody's mic is on. Hello. Deepak sir, can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We'll try to mute someone.
Okay, now it's okay. So these Marxist critics of welfare state then brought forward the structural social work practice. Now, what is this structural social work practice? This structural social work practice says that unless the social structure itself is challenged, unless there is a structural changes, any kind of social work will be of no use. They said society is divided into caste, creed, then race in the context of West, gender, ethnicity. So there is a hierarchy in the society. Society, in particular, Indian society is basically a hierarchical society. There is a social hierarchies based on caste, and there are gender hierarchies also. So in the Indian context, caste, class, and gender, these three becomes very essential. In the Western context, the caste is replaced by race. There is no caste in the West, but there is a race and gender. So people are victims. People are victims of a particular social order. And unless this social order is reshaped or unless it is challenged, any kind of social work is going to be of only superficial, a kind of uh, act. So this debate between these two traditions, that is charity-based social work or individual interventionist social work versus social activism, is as old as social work itself. If you go back to the history of social work in the West, one finds there was a long debate between settlement houses movement, settlement houses movement and charity organization society in UK and USA. This was in 1884. In 19th century, when we had started speaking about professional social work, this conflict between traditional model of social work and critical or radical model of social work is very much rooted into the history of social work itself. These two organizations, which were born in UK and later on they spread in United States of America, they had also a long debate and discussion whether we should go for charity-based individual interventionist kind of social work, or we should promote social activism so as to change the system itself. Now, the settlement houses movement, they believed that we should help the people by providing them, we should help the deserving poor people by providing them some kind of monetary help, maybe material resources, money, or some kind of other resources, and we should solve their problems. So they believe in charity work by providing material resources to the poor people, those who deserve. So they divided people into deserving people and undeserving people. And they started distributing whatever funds they had in their hand. They used to collect donations. They had many people who became the members of settlement houses movements and they started distributing money to the needy poor people. And they were opposed by the another tradition of social activism. Now, this tradition said that poor are the victims of unjust order. Now, look at the origin of the social work. Right in the beginning of the social work, these two traditions were fighting on what should be the nature of social work: social activism or individual interventionism. The social activism tradition says poor are victims of unjust social order. And unless this unjust social order is challenged, the problems of the poor people are not going to solve. Then in 1970s and 1980s, the academicians started vocally speaking about the contradictions of this charity-based model by bringing out the Marxist critics of welfare state. I will also like to draw your attentions to one of the pioneers in social work. His name is Ife. Ife, 1997. He argued that social work by its very nature is radical. And we need to conceptualize social work in such a way that its inherent radicalism is recognized and incorporated into mainstream understanding of social work practice. This is what Ife had also said, that social work by itself, by its very nature, is radical in nature, and we need to reconceptualize social work in such a way that its inherent radicalism is recognized and incorporated into the mainstream understanding of social work practice. Then in 2001, Alston, in 2001, Alston further substantiated what Ife had said in 1997. Alston also said that professional social work is concerned with human rights. Alston also said in 2001 that professional social work is concerned with human rights, social justice, and support for marginalized people. However, the notion of social work as a radical professions is still not acknowledged, since it was reconceptualized in 1970s by Rin. Means he said the radical or critical social work practice is still an illusion, though it was conceptualized by Rin way back in 1970. And he therefore underlined the need to promote critical social work or radical social work practice. Now, then if you want to reorientate social work, if you want to reorient social work, then we need to have certain theories. I don't know if you'd be able to. I have this book in my hand. The Critical Social Work, an Introduction to Theories and Practices. This is a edited book by June Allen, Bob Peace, and Linda. Now, these particular books talks about different theories, critical theories of social work, right from its beginning. This was published by Rawat Publications, maybe in 2003. Its Indian editions was published in 2003. Actually, it was published before that. Now, these particular books talks about critical theories of social work, because most of our theories are derived from other social sciences. Social work theories are derived from the other disciplines, and we still are not in a positions to have our own independent theory of social work, which will address the societal problems by applying our own methods and practices. Of course, there are efforts. There are efforts being made in Western countries and in our country also. In Western countries, for example, they are now talking about anti-oppressive social work practice. There are faculties in USA and in UK and some other Western countries where they talk about anti-oppressive social work practice. We are still talking about casework, group work in a traditional sense and community organizations, whereas they talked about postmodern social work practices in the postmodern era. Tata Institute of Social Sciences, they also started Dalit and tribal social work practice. They have also an independent unit or independent MA programs in Dalit and tribal social work practice. So what is happening in USA is they are becoming more and more categorical in addressing
अब्दुल भाई ने बुलाया था
hello. Okay, yeah. So we need to understand what are the basic arguments of these critical theories of social work and how they can help us. I will just point out few important arguments of these theories. Now, these critical theories tries to explain the sources of oppression in society in such a way so as to encourage those affected by these oppressions in society to take action to transform it. Critical theories are important for us because they try to explain the sources of oppression, how the oppression, exploitation takes place in the society, and it encourages the affected people, those who are affected by such exploitation and oppression, to take action so as to transform the society. This is very much in contrast to what we are practicing. We are practicing still individualized kind of social work. Individual and individual problems, and individual is responsible for his problem, disregarding the structural, social, political, cultural, religious factors, because they makes the system, and the entire system is responsible for the problems of the victims. So this theory tries to explain the sources of the oppression of the people and encourage them to take action against it so as to transform the society. Then Alvinson, he also talked about the intent of critical theory. He says the intent of critical theory is to challenge the legitimacy and counter the development of oppressive institutions and practices. Alvinson and Wilmot, 1996, they argued that the very intent of a critical theory is to challenge the legitimacy and counter the development of oppressive institutions and practices. What are practices which are oppressive and institutions that are oppressive? We need to challenge the legitimacy of those institutions, and critical theory of social work can play an important role. One more thing is, critical theory of social work also places a significant emphasis on how dominant ideologies or ways of thinking, as well as societal institutions, impact on people's lives. Critical theory places a significant emphasis on dominant ideologies, because people are moved by the dominant ideologies. Ideologies played very important role in understanding the social structure and behavior of the people. So the critical theory challenges the ideologies, because these ideologies are imbibed upon the masses and they are deep rooted in their consciousness. And these ideologies take the consent of the victim to rule them. So they will not resist those ideologies, because their consent is already taken at their conscious and unconscious level. So these critical theories of social work, which are not at all seriously taken up in the educational paradigms, in the social work educational paradigms, particularly in India, needs to be revisited and relook at in the light of modernism and postmodernism. Because in the postmodern era, in the post modern era, the identity of various groups in all over the world has become very dominant. Everywhere you will say identity politics. And these identities have become very visible in the postmodern period after 1990s. Various groups started their own movements. These are called new social movements. Now, how to incorporate all these neoliberal concepts, neoliberal eras, postmodernism into social work curricula is a $1,000,000 questions. Whether our curricula, our curriculum have enough space to these new things. Because in the modernism, we thought that rational thinking, scientific thinking, and reasoning will universally solve the problems of the people. This is what modernism said from the Enlighten project. यूरोप का जो एनलाइटन प्रोजेक्ट था, जिसको हम आधुनिकतावाद कहते हैं, इस आधुनिकतावाद ने क्या कहा था कि लोगों को शिक्षित बनाइए, provide education to the people, and once they are educated, they will not accept any tradition, customs, superstitions, and they will start behaving rationally, thinking rationally, and they will reason out everything. And universally, there will be change. But at the end, it was realized that this is not working at all. The rational people were becoming more and more dogmatic, ritualistic, and traditional and modernism was going hand in hand. So the postmodernist they brought the critics of modernism and they said there is nothing called one shirt fits all, because one ideology, one thinking, one thoughts cannot address the problems of all the people, because the people in the world are divided into various categories, various groups, and each of these groups has its own history, has its own culture, has its own problems. So the modernist interpretation is wrong. This is what they said. And the postmodernism brought forward all these identities in a new way. Identities like gender, LGBT, caste, religion, race, ethnicity, all these identities, if you want to solve their problems, then these problems needs to be understood from multiple points of view. There cannot be a single point of view, or there cannot be a single ideology or single theory which will explain the problems of poverty or problems of any other kinds of problems. So postmodernism brought multi-dimensionality, or we can say interdisciplinarity in understanding the socio-economic realities and socio-economic problems of the people. And therefore, in the postmodernism, the problems of victimized populations all over the world, whether it is scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes in our country, or whether it is blacks or Afro-American in America, or whether it is some other victimized sections in any part of the world, their voices have become very loud and visible. And they are demanding not the welfare, but they are demanding equal share in power, sharing of power with the elites. Now, elites, they propagated welfare state, welfare model, welfareism, services, this and that, providing services, providing charity, providing material. All these things is taught in the social work even today. But the aspirations of these victimized people are not only limited to be recipient of services, but they want to be the equal partners in the process of development and sharing of power. And in order to counter these voices, then internationally they brought the concept of empowerment. Means in after 1990s, when people were actually disempowered, they started talking about empowerment. Some people say that empowerment is also a conspiracy of the elite people. There are some people who said empowerment is a conspiracy because when people are disempowered, when their land, their वाटर जल जमीन और जंगल को जब छीना जा रहा है लोगों से, तो वो लोगों को एम्पावर करने का डिस्कोर्स भी चला रहे हैं. तो लोगों के जो आवाजें है, जो वॉइसेस है, these voices talk about something else, and we teach to students something else. We still teach them developmental, remedial, therapeutic, social work, case work. Whereas after 1990s, the situation has entirely changed. There are new social movements. There are identity-based politics. There are many groups which are not at all happy with the kind of economic system that we have adopted. And therefore, we need a radical departure from our traditional kind of social work to the critical or radical social work practices or anti-oppressive social work practices. We will also have to think about feminist social work practices, because feminism is also a new kind of discourse. New kind of discourse in the sense it was there since 1970s, but now it has reached almost everywhere and they also have their own voices. So how we can incorporate the aspirations of the different groups who are victims of the system, victims of the society, victims of the particular ideology for thousands of years. And is there any place in our curricula so as to accommodate the aspirations of these victimized people? In order to solve their problems, we will also need to indigenize our own social work models and find out what is there in our own traditions, in our own literature that can help us in reshaping the social work practice and its models in the light of postmodernism and in the light of globalizations and neoliberalism. So we have still a long way to go. We need indigenous social work models, and it is not at all difficult because it is not at all difficult to design such models, because India has a long history of social reformers, and therefore we need to look into our own history. If I go back to our own history, I have just listed out some of the reformers who could help us in designing radical or critical social work practice in our country. Now, these are some of the reformers. I start with the Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was the first radical social reformer who challenged the caste and hegemony of few people and exploitation in the society. He was not a religious. He was not. He's looked at as one of the religious founder, but he did not founded any religion. Then after Lord Buddha, you have Kabir, Mahatma Kabir, Mahatma Phule, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, Mahatma Basveshwar, Chakradhar Swami, Ramaswamy Periyar, Eothit Haas, and there are many others who can help us in addressing our structural and systemic issues and redesign and reshape the social work in today's context, particularly in the light of postmodernism. I think I spoke whatever I had intended to speak about, and you can go to the last slide. Thank you, slide. Deepak sir, you can go to the last slide. I have just to say thank to go to the next slide. Last, okay. So I it's already 12:30. I'll stop here, and if you have any queries, questions, you are free to ask whatever I have spoken so far. Students, please, if you have any queries on whatever I spoke during last 1 hour, you are free to shoot your questions. This was a 3 hours presentation, which I concluded in 1 hour.
So students and participants, if you have any question, you may ask, please. Otherwise, we may conclude this session. Any doubt, any question, please.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, please ask, or you can write in chat box also.
Okay, Dr. Deepak, we may conclude this session, please.
So
I would like, sir has discussed very briefly about the radical model of social work or developmental model of social work, and many about discuss about many social reformers. So it is a really very wonderful session. And here I request,
just Deepak,
yes, sir.
just one second.
Yes,
In the flow of my speech, I just forgot to mention
yes.
one thing. The thing is, social work actually started with therapeutic social work, and this therapeutic social work was heavily influenced by psychodynamic theory. And this therapeutic social work never paid any attentions to the socio-economic and cultural factors that are equally responsible for the problems of the people. So for many years, we were blaming individual for his own problems without speaking about the system in which he is functioning. So therapeutic social work only tried to address the behavioral issues without addressing the systemic issues of the problems. So this is also one of the important link into this entire presentation, which was missed from my side. I just wanted to underline it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Deepak sir.
Sir, this is very knowledgeable and enriching webinar for our participants, students, and the listeners. So here at the end, I would like to request Dr. Christina Parmar, madam, for propose a vote of thanks.
So, on behalf of Parul Institute of Social Work, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Kirtiraj sir for sharing their valuable and innovative knowledge regarding the theories and practical of social work. He shared about the models of social work profession, about the social work practice in India, different aspects of social work, theories of radical social work in India. So, which will be very helpful to the faculty as well as to the students to imparting their knowledge, as well as I am very much thankful to constant support and motivation of our respected Dean Dr. Satish Bodla sir, and I would like to also appreciate the efforts of Dr. Deepak Makwana sir for to bring such an eminent personality in our department. Also, I am very grateful to all the participants for to listen us very carefully. So thank you so much one and all.
Yes, Shash. Yes, thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Deepak sir and his team.
So much, sir, for your valuable knowledge that you are sharing with us. And we also like to thanks to our technical team, because for their constant support, we can able to manage so many webinars. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. I'll take a leave.
Yes, sir.